4 of Brain Camp, and the whole purpose being to understanding your brain so you can rock your learning and rock your world. I want to make sure I'm turned way up here. Okay. So we said last time that it's always important that you review. I might be just a tad big on this full screen. I'm going to put me up here. But I'm still here, so pay attention. So we always want to review because reviewing is a way that really can solidify in the hippocampus. Remember, the hippocampus does its work in the middle of the night, and it stores all your memory, almost like a file cabinet, and it's putting all those memories into there. So let's review for our hippocampus' sake. Oh, sometimes this gets sassy. All right, so day 1, we learned the identity of the major parts of the brain, and as a bonus, think your brain is amazing, but I think you should be doing that every day. And our mnemonic device is our memory trick that we use in order to help us to remember. So we put some mnemonic devices to these new brain lobes because they're hard. We had nothing to connect our neurons to. So we said, think frying pot, and a frying pot, the P-O-T, F for frontal, P for parietal, O for occipital, and T for temporal. And back in the day, you were like, I still don't know what those words are. So we came up with some ways to remember those. So that frontal lobe right up here, about to the middle of your head, is responsible for language, behavior, your planning. A lot of that wise owl we learned yesterday happens in that frontal lobe. The front part is pretty easy to remember. It's right up here, forehead. 4 also means front. Then we had parietal, and we said, think of a pear in a riot with an apple, and it's very tall, so it wins. Parietal, and it is responsible for touch, taste, temperature, and when we're doing our math calculations, it's in the parietal lobe. Then we had occipital, and we said, think of an octopus in the back of your head with its tentacles coming out. And it kind of sounds like hospital, so we put a Band-Aid on there to do that. You have this image in your brain. You picture the octopus sipping occipital, kind of like hospital, occipital, and its major purpose is vision. Then we have the temporal lobe back here, and you can think of temper, and if you've got a hot temper and the anger and the smoke's coming out the sides, that's where it's located on the sides. But really it's wrapped around that frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and then, it's kind of buried in there. So here's our physical of what it would look like for a brain, and our temporal lobe is kind of wrapped inside there. We have the hippocampus, which we think of hippo, off to a camp in the US, and its job there is to work on memory. And that's what the hippocampus does. It stores our memories. And yesterday I talked about the amygdala, that guard dog, that part that kind of comes up and protects you, and how we can work on that. Then day 2 was how do we build that myelin? Knowing how to do that. And think of myelin, think of my violin, and that's how we get the word myelin. And it's the special kind of neurons. There's billions of those cells within your brain. It's a special kind of neurons that are permanent. That it's when we know something really, really well. And we build it by doing hard things. We get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and the more you do it, the easier it gets to do even harder things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more today. You think, I've done hard things before, so I can do them again. Remember, the goal of your brain is easy, efficient. Your brain's goal is to seek pleasure. We kind of have to fight that and say, listen, brain, I have big goals for my life, and in order to do that, you're going to have to cooperate for me, and it's not always going to be easy. So we want to work at getting outside of this comfort zone. Anytime we learn something new, we're in the learning zone. Yes, the comfort zone is safe and easy and comfortable, but it can be a little boring. So we want to go to that learning zone where it's excited and we feel alive and we feel challenged and we're like, I'll take another risk. We have to talk ourselves off from getting in this panic zone when that guard dog comes up, when our amygdala fires. Instead of freaking out and going to that panic zone, we're like, oh, I'm in the learning zone. We start talking to our brain about that. When we work hard at something, we get that piece that's called our learner's joy, that happy bubble bath that wraps around your brain, and it is better than cupcakes, believe it or not. But there's nothing more special and more wonderful than when you have worked really, really hard at something and you feel that light bulb go on, like, oh my gosh, I get it. I gave you some tips to build that myelin, to be courageous, to have do those hard things. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Just don't even think about it. Just count down, and when you get to 1, you just start doing that. The I am statements. Setting up a life for if you want to become a better reader. I am a reader. And then you start doing the habits of reading. And P, pair up your new goal with something you're already doing well. Be careful, because myelin can be good and bad. We learned that if you learn things the wrong way and you learn them well, sorry, you have to unlearn them. If you have bad habits and you do them a lot, sorry, you have to do them again. So you have to build myelin in a new direction, a new pathway, a new superhighway to learning that's stronger than the other one. Day 3 was controlling your mindset. I love day 3. That little almond piece in the middle, about the size of a Jolly Rancher, is your amygdala. And your amygdala is the part that is responsible for your emotions. So there's going to be, day 3 was rock your mindset. And there's going to be roadblocks to that mindset. That guard dog, when it pops up, versus the wise owl. And the way that guard dog came up, we talked about, was that fight, which you might fight physically and be aggressive physically, but you also might be aggressive physically with your voice. Flight, that part where you want to run away from something. Freeze, where you're like deer in a headlights and you freeze. And appease is when you're like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. It's like you're not even really taking it in. You're just trying to get the other person to just back off. So you use all kinds of words. I can do that sometimes. That guard dog can be big, it can be medium, or it can be small. And what we want to do is when we have a big one, where we have a big reaction to something, we want to take the steps to get that settled down. So we want to bring out our wise owl. Our wise owl is up here in the front of our brain, and we might get a drink, which means we just leave the space for a minute or two. We might visualize ourselves being successful at handling things. Talk to yourself. A lot of self-talk, like you can do this. You can do hard things. You don't have to say it out loud. You just say it in your head and work on your breathing. Not the kind of guard dog breathing that's like, that doesn't settle down your guard dog. It probably jazzes him up. You want to do the kind where you picture yourself breathing in on 4, you hold it at the top, and then you think of it as like refreshing your mind and your body. Hold it for 4 seconds, release for 4 seconds, hold that for 4 seconds. And I said last time that I actually release for 4 seconds, 5, 6, 7, 8. I use all that time to release, just as a way to calm yourself. We can do that same thing for others. We can give others, when we see their guard dog coming out, we can give them time and space. We don't go talk to them during that time. We just give them some time to chill out. And then maybe after they settle down, we just say, is there anything I can do? But don't even talk to them. Don't say, is there anything I can do, when they're in the middle of it. Just be like, oh, I'm just going to give you some space. That's a great way to handle other people. All right, day 4. Could be my favorite day. I don't know. Yesterday was a really fabulous day for me, telling you about that guard dog and how your body responds to things. So day 4 is practice makes. It is not perfect. If you're from Riverside, you already know that practice does not make perfect, but practice will make progress. So perfect is kind of that thing like I can never ever get better. It's really that fixed mindset. It's that mindset that says I don't need to even try. This is the best I can get because I'm already perfect. I already practiced it and I already know how to do it. But the idea that practice makes progress, like whatever I want to do, I just have to keep practicing at it to make progress. It takes courage to do this because practicing something new is going to be that courageous act, and it's going to be hard. Whenever you're learning something new, it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to do the mental gymnastics of talking to your brain and telling your brain it's going to be okay. So we want you to be able to set big, grand, audacious. Audacious means very bold goals for your life. And we want you to know that the type of person that sets big goals can expect that there's going to be roadblocks. Your guard dog is going to be there and it's going to come out because it's uncomfortable. It thinks it's protecting you, but it's not actually. You didn't need that kind of help. You weren't in danger. Your life wasn't going to do. You just wanted to learn something new, brain. You could relax. But that guard dog is going to come up and you should expect it. The bigger your goals, the bigger your obstacles, the bigger your guard dog's going to fight back. Just be ready for it. Be ready to practice, practice, practice. And be certain that you will make progress with that practice. All hard things take practice. Your brain's like a muscle. And the more you work that muscle, the stronger it gets. So the more that you practice something, the easier it begins to set new goals. And then the more you practice that goal, it's easier to set new goals. It's because it's like your brain says, hey, you've done this before, and I can count on you to keep me safe. So if I want to get strong, I'm not lifting feathers, I'm lifting heavy, hard weights. Your heavy, hard thing is you set a goal that's at the next level of where you want to be. Practice makes progress. What used to be hard suddenly becomes easier. So I don't know, I think when you started learning your math facts, you were like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do it. And then you practiced it a little bit and it became easier. Myelin, you have to remember in that practice, because our myelin can be good or bad. So if I practice something wrong, then I can't undo myelin. It can't be done. Like scientifically, it can't be done. But then I have to create that new roadway. So remember, when you practice, you want to make sure you're practicing in the right way, with the right habits, with the right attitude. If you practice with a crabby attitude, like maybe you're like, okay, I want to become a better reader because who doesn't want to become a better reader? It's just going to make learning easier. And so you're like, fine, I'll read every night and I hate it and it's 20 minutes every night. Then you're not going to make the kind of progress that you want to make. You have to practice in the right way to build the right myelin. And setting those big, grand, audacious goals. Okay, so there's this whole series out there and it's called For Dummies. It is For Dummies series. I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks like this picture. And there's everything out there. There's like pasta for dummies if you want to make pasta. Cooking for dummies. There's coding for kids, like on the computer, for dummies. Pretty much anything you can think of, they have a For Dummies series. Most of them are for adults wanting to learn new things. But really what it's done is it's broken it down into simple, easy steps. That's what happens when you set a goal for yourself. You start with simple, easy steps and you break it down. Success in anything for dummies. This is what it would include if I was to write that book. You set a goal. Whatever it is, you find a teacher. I put teacher in quotes because the teacher can be a person that's really living, but the teacher could also be what it is usually for me, and it might be a book, a podcast, a YouTube. You find a teacher, then you practice, and then you repeat that. Once you've practiced, you're going to find, oh, okay, now that used to be hard, now it's easy. I have to set a harder goal. So you set the next level of goal, and then you find the teacher that's going to help you in the next one. Practice. It became easier. Repeat. So that is how that works. Along the way, you're going to have people that are going to be like, no, you're not going to be able to do that. So you pick something, they're going to be like, they're not going to be able to do it. I'll guarantee you. You're going to have haters. Be ready for it. Somebody's always going to tell you that you can't do it. And you have to overcome your brain, because your brain will be like, you should listen to them. You're not going to be able to do that. And you have to push through, fight back your brain and be like, hey, I can do anything better. I can make progress at anything. Am I going to be perfect? No, you're never going to be perfect. You're only going to get to the next level and have to set a new goal. So don't listen to the haters, please. Be courageous. Go after that goal. Oh, this kid, I love this story. So this kid, I don't know if you guys know, but drum corps is like where kids that love marching band, in the summer, college students go into drum corps. And some of them play drums, but they play all different kinds of instruments too. But this kid set a goal for himself to be able to make drum corps. So this is the story of that. And I want you to listen to the very end, because he had an obstacle to overcome. And he probably had people tell him that he couldn't do that, not going to happen, and how he pushed through. All right. Don't forget to set on those settings so that you're always listening to. We'll see if it turned on. Maybe it doesn't have closed caption.
Finally here tonight, a story about dreams coming true, in this case very early, with a little talent and a lot of hard work. At this weekend's Drum Corps International World Championships in Indianapolis, a young drummer from Tucson is playing with the big kids. Jill Wagner has his story.
The musicians and dancers in this ensemble fit together like pieces of a puzzle. Keep an eye on this drummer. Brandon Oglander is just 16. He's the youngest snare drummer in the Blue Devils Drum and Bugle Corps.
My uncle had a pair of old drumsticks in his house.
Brandon started at age 10.
I just took some drumsticks and was beating away on a chair.
Even then, he dreamed of becoming part of this corps with the most world championships.
Change your hands in the middle of the single.
He first got in front of Blue Devils instructor Scott Johnson at a camp in California at age 11.
We had the center snare drummer lower the drum as low as he could. Brandon stood in there and played through this exercise that we just played, and everybody, including myself, was in shock.
Johnson says he's never seen someone so young with so much talent. This video from the following year went viral.
He has the hands of a 21-year-old.
But even though his hands could keep up, Johnson felt Brandon was too young. It may look easy, but Indiana State University analyzed the drummer in 2005 and found that the physical demands rival that of athletes, with heart rates as fast as sprinters and oxygen intake like marathon runners.
I was kind of disappointed, especially last year, but I think I used that to reignite my determination for this year.
This year, Brandon beat out nearly 100 other snare drummers. Since then, this Tucson, Arizona native has traveled 11,000 miles and logged thousands of hours of practice, even more grueling for a teen who battles scoliosis, a curvature of his spine.
Being able to perform for thousands of people and to know that you're making their night enjoyable is one of the best feelings in the world.
Brandon and his Blue Devils are the odds-on favorite heading into the Drum Corps International Finals tonight. Win or lose, Brandon is living his dream, one beat at a time. Jill Wagner, CBS News, New York.
Love it. All right. Okay, so he did have challenges. Remember we said when you want to do something and you set big, grand, audacious, or bold goals, you are going to run into obstacles. So he didn't make it the first time he tried. He was a very talented 11-year-old, I think, and then a talented 12 and 13. It wasn't until he was 16. So he really had to wait 5 years to make his goal. And, I'm sure he had plenty of people saying, yeah, you're just kind of young, because you're really not supposed to be able to do that until you're in college to be in that. So I just thought it was a really cool example. Plus, I've seen the Blue Devils perform in the drum corps, and they are amazing. So it was fun for me to see that. So you set a goal, you find a teacher, you practice, 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 and repeat. Okay, so this next part that I'm going to talk about actually came from, you guys probably recognize these scholars. Damien is on the left and his cousin LeBrian is on the right. And LeBrian was telling me how at home they've been having fun trying to solve this Rubik's Cube. And so it just got me thinking about that in doing it, and I thought, well, what if that was somebody's goal, that they wanted to be able to solve that Rubik's Cube, you know, this thing. And so I've been kind of messing with that. And for some of you, you're probably like, I don't even get what you're talking about. So I thought you might enjoy finding out just what is speed cubing.
I'm obsessed with the idea of being faster and faster. Right before I compete, I'm usually like shaking because I'm nervous of how I'm going to do.
My first reaction was, what? Like, did that really just happen?
It's definitely all about determination and consistency. And when you do well, you feel happy. When you do bad, you can feel sad or angry.
If you keep practicing over and over again, you can keep getting better. It becomes a sport after a while, but it starts out as a puzzle.
We recently attended a speed cubing tournament in New Jersey that attracted 80 young
like, even if you can solve
competitors.
it in 1 or 2 minutes, you're still considered a speed cuber. My personal best in competition is 5.37 seconds, and that's the fastest female time in the world.
My best time is 5.04 on a 3x3. The new world record has been set by Felix Zemdex. The record time is 4.22 seconds. I was shocked because the last world record was 4.59, and that's a huge jump for a world record.
Cubing is addictive because when you first break your record, you want to keep breaking it and breaking it. So you keep cubing and cubing until you keep breaking it and breaking it. There's pretty much no days where I don't cube.
Speed cubing is very addictive. I came from India. I see a lot of famous people coming here, and I just want to talk to them. Take some photos. Patrick Pons, he's pretty famous.
That's F12. Nice.
7 or 8 months ago, I got the world record single at 4.69, and I think that's my biggest accomplishment that I've had so far as a speed cuber. But currently I stand at 3rd in the world. While I'm solving, I'm really focused. I'm not really thinking too many things and not showing that much emotion. When we solve, we're kind of like robots. Yes! Over the years of speed cubing, the median age of speed cubing has gone lower and lower. Perhaps 10 years ago, like 25-year-olds were doing it, and now you barely see anyone get to that age. Young kids are dominating the rankings because they just have more time to practice and perhaps have more time to go to competitions than an older person would. Yeah.
I think it's good for little kids to get involved in this and practice a lot because it's a very mental sport. It's also a physical sport, dexterity-wise, and it's better than a lot of other hobbies that people can get addicted to.
I think the mental aspect is like 80% and the physical is like 20 because you don't really need to be fit to cube. But as you keep practicing, your fingers like get muscle memory for everything and you start to turn fast.
You have to be able to manipulate a cube exactly like 90 degrees or 180 degrees when you turn. If you overturn, you might lock up and cause yourself extra time. Some days you'll feel like you're going really fast and then you get a really bad time. I don't know what it is. It just depends on the day.
In order to become a speed cuber, you just need some patience, and if you learn it, you'll instantly be hooked, and then you'll start practicing.
People think that there's just a simple secret to learn how to solve it. That's not true. There's actually methods and algorithms that you need to learn to get fast. I usually use 2 algorithms from permuting the last layer. This is called the J-perm. The perm is for permutation. And then there's the H-perm. I usually use those 2 algorithms to warm up.
I probably know around like 500 to 600 algorithms. And although that may seem like a lot, I definitely know people who know thousands of algorithms. There are quite a few misconceptions about us speedcubers and the community. Many people think that this is a very math-based tournament setting. Solving Rubik's Cubes has actually really little to do with math and overall intelligence.
You don't have to be good at math. It just happens that a lot of cubers are good at math because people who are good at math and like math like the type of thinking and the algorithms and the puzzleness, I guess, of the cube.
I really enjoy coming here to beat my personal times and do well in my sense, not to focus on beating other people or to kind of get in a rivalry mindset.
It's not all about your results. That you shouldn't depend on your results to have a good time. Just because you don't get good results doesn't mean you should get sad.
It definitely is a community, so there's no negative feelings even if your friend beats you or you beat your friend. At the first competition I went to, there was one other girl besides me, and now at comps you can usually see 5 or 10.
More and more girls have been joining the community over the year. You're definitely going to see more girl cubers now than ever.
I think there could be more growth, but then again, if they're interested, they can join. It's not something oh, we have to go recruit more girls to speedcube.
Consistent. Very. Last year I got the opportunity to go international, so I went to the World Championship in Paris. The traveling opportunities that Keeping Hands giving me is something that I don't think I would have achieved if I had done anything else. Maybe in 20, 30 years, there can be people who can say, I am a full-time speedcuber and just live a normal life.
Every time I get a new personal best, I want to beat it and keep beating it until hopefully it gets down to really fast. Hopefully world records someday.
I am definitely enjoying my life after I started speedcubing. It's been a really awesome journey for me. Yeah, I'll remember this competition forever.
If you know how to solve a Rubik's Cube and you can do it under 10 minutes, you should sign up for a competition near where you live.
I don't usually remember my dreams, but I think I've had a couple dreams that I've cubed in.
If I was stranded on an island, I would definitely choose Rubik's Cube over an iPhone. That's just more fun for me.
So I just thought that was really interesting when I heard it first coming from LeBrian was telling me about it, that he and Damien had been doing that, which kind of created an interest in me and that idea of solving a Rubik's Cube. What would that look like? So when you want to do that and you find a teacher to be able to do that, I had mentioned that one of the great resources is for you to use YouTube. So I just want to, I know not everybody's goal is to do a Rubik's Cube, but you know me, if I get excited about something, then I ordered 6 of these so every classroom could have one for anybody that wanted to kind of reach out and set this goal. And it's Sunday afternoon and I'm supposed to be hustling up with my homework so Mr. Meyer and I can go outside and take a walk because it's kind of nice outside. But then he came in, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to solve this Rubik's Cube because I started watching this YouTube on how to solve it, and I'm not going to show the whole thing, but what I do want to show you is when you are finding your teacher to do whatever your goal is, when you're finding your teacher, it's going to take hard work. You think, I honestly thought, okay, I'm just going to do it like 15 minutes in doing this, and then I'm going to I'll know how to do it so I can show the kids and everybody will be like, wow, she can solve it. But it does take time. I don't know if it's this one or the last one that I watched, and they said you probably should expect the first time to take you about an hour to kind of get down the system and the algorithm. But I just wanted to play a couple minutes of this so that you see how I watch it. I watch it to learn it, and then I pause, and then I take notes on what I need to know so that I have those notes down there. You don't just watch the whole thing. You kind of watch it and then pause so that you can catch up. And then this afternoon, I keep backing up to certain parts because I'm like, okay, I got how to do the one thing. Now I need to know how to make the cross, and I had to back up to that point.
Hi, my name is Cubastic, and today I will teach you how to solve a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. The technique I'm about to show you is really easy and absolutely everyone can learn it.
Now it may be easy, but it is time consuming. So you have to, that's a roadblock. A lot of people will set a goal to do something, and then if it takes them more than 10 minutes, they're like, just ain't gonna do it. You have to fight through that and say, okay, if this is something I wanna learn how to do, I have to be willing to put the time into it.
Guarantee that after watching all 4 parts of this tutorial, you will easily solve a Rubik's Cube no matter how scrambled it is. And if you already know how to solve a Rubik's Cube, this method still will be really useful because with it, you'll be able to teach your friends, your parents, your siblings or classmates. Let's go! First, let's learn what the Rubik's Cube consists of. It has 6 faces and therefore 6 colors. White, yellow, green, blue, red, and orange. It's really important to remember that white will always be opposite yellow, blue opposite green, and red opposite orange. That is due to the Rubik's Cube structure.
Now that part I didn't pause and take notes on because I can tell that. I can tell, well, he'll tell you how you can tell which one.
And no matter how you turn or scramble it, white centerpiece will always be opposite yellow, blue opposite green, and red opposite orange. It's also really important to note that the Rubik's Cube has 3 layers. To determine which layer is which, just pick up the Rubik's Cube and the lowest layer will be called the first layer. The top layer is called the third layer and the middle one is the second layer. So again, the first layer, the second layer, and the third layer. Don't confuse.
So it's important that you know that kind of each thing you learn has its own vocabulary. So you want to be able to do the layers. And he said don't confuse it with the faces, which are these parts. He's going to be talking about the stickered parts. The ones that I have for your classroom don't have stickers on them because I was afraid some strange kid would start to pick them apart. That's why I didn't get the stickers on them. Plus, I thought maybe it'd be a little easier to move around.
Those layers with faces. Let's disassemble the Rubik's Cube and see what elements.
Do not disassemble these from Rubik's Cubes for me, please.
It has. There are 3 types of elements, and the first one is the central axis. As you can see, all centerpieces are fixed and they cannot move relative to one another. The centerpiece has only one color. We also have the edge pieces, which have 2 colors, like this one, for example, has red and white. This is what it looks like inside the cube. And the corner elements, like this one for example, and they have 3 colors. This one has blue, white and red, and this is again what it looks like inside a cube.
So I will put those out to your teachers, this particular tutorial. I did find it easier. I listened to another one and I liked the guy better, but I wasn't following him as much. But I did want you to know that I am pausing and taking notes, and that is how you watch a tutorial. That is, I call that your webucation. If you go on YouTube, you go on the web to figure out how to do, you get an education from the web, so the word becomes webucation. But it's a pause, it's a watch, a pause, so that you can process the information, jot down the information, or look at the information. Then he's going to tell you that your first step is to, they call this make the daisy. You have the yellow in the middle and get a white to that point. That's where I'm at. And then my next part is I want to get the cross. That's the part I have to work on. But not this afternoon because Mr. Meyer wants to take a walk. All right, so if your hard thing was to solve a Rubik's Cube, can I just, oopsie. That was driving me crazy a little bit. Okay, so if your hard thing is to solve the Rubik's Cube, then you would find a teacher. You'd practice, practice, practice. Pretty soon making the daisy becomes easy. Then you go to make the white cross. It isn't like the kids that go to these competitions that we are watching, that they just learn this in a day. It is not true that they were born knowing how to be cubers. They just set a goal for themselves. They found a teacher. They practice, practice, practice. I added this one. They were inspired. So there is this show that you may want to watch. I know you guys are watching things at lunchtime as you're eating up in your classrooms because your kind teachers are allowing you to do that. But you might look for inspiration on that. This one on Netflix is a documentary. So documentary is like a show that tells. I'm going to pause there because if you guys want to watch it, that's awesome. And I know your teachers have an account that they could watch it on. But I paused right there because it said, what is your secret? And his secret is practice. So practice makes progress. So of course his secret to that is practice. What do you want to get better at? What thing is it that you want to do? It doesn't have to be cubing, but in case you're like kind of piqued your interest with it, I will put one of these in your classroom, and maybe when you have extra time, you can be able to do that, or at lunchtime do that. All hard things take practice. Your brain is like a muscle. You have to work it out in order for it to get it, and practice makes progress. Don't forget that brain can't beat. Pat, snap, clap, pat, pat, snap, clap, snap, pat, snap, clap, pat, pat, snap. And I will see you next time at Brain Camp. Bye, guys.